Would it kill you at least to say hello?
Long time no see.
Very good.
Just because you became a prosecutor first doesn't mean you can act all proud.
She hasn't changed a bit.
Miles Edgeworth! As I was saying, we shall see which one of us is worthy of the Von Karma name.
Oh, for crying out loud. I've been reduced to a babysitter.
It looks like Mr. Von Karma was successful in convincing the detective. That's just like him. He never fails. Now, I'd appreciate it if you could quickly run me through the facts, Detective Bad.
You're better off checking things out on your own.
Very well. Seems like getting help from Detective Bad will be a most arduous task. Is the only real explanation that they killed each other simultaneously?
Miles Edgeworth! You should listen to someone until they are finished talking!
What are you talking about?
I'll only say it one more time. This is a competition to see who is truly worthy of the Von Karma name.
A competition?
The person that figures out the truth first wins.
Huh. So the person who doesn't discover the truth is a dishonor to the name?
Exactly! I don't care that you became a prosecutor before me. I simply refuse to hear any more foolish things come from your foolishly foolish mouth!
Huh. Fine. Whatever makes you happy.
Can I take that as you accepting my challenge?
Once again, whatever makes you happy.
Well then, let's begin the investigation, shall we? I'm going to find the perfect evidence and prettily present it like the professional I am.
Competing to discover the truth behind a crime. How delightfully childish.
You kids over there, hold it!
Kid?
Serves you right, Miles. He just called you a kid.
I said kids, kid.
How dare you call me a kid as well?
I'll do what I please, and I won't allow you to cause a ruckus on my crime scene. Hey, big guy. You're going to watch over these two.
Yes, sir! Detective Bad, sir! Now do what I say from now on, kids, okay?
You'd better not get in our way, Scruffy. You'll feel the bite of my whip if you do.
Yeah, okay, then you, prosecutor boy. Let's get your investigation started already, alright?
Great. Now even that detective is treating me like a child.
Alright, it's time to get investigating. Get a move on, prosecutor boy.
My name is Miles Edgeworth, and if you were to call me prosecutor boy one more time, it will be my duty as a prosecutor to look into your monthly salary.
What? And what would you do with my salary after you saw how much it was? You couldn't do much, I tell you that.
That's up to you now, isn't it?
Really? Huh, sounds good, pal.
He's so naive.
To think he might actually have an influence on my paycheck eventually. How silly of me.
Detective Bad, may I have a word with you?
What is it?
It appears that both a knife and a gun were used as murder weapons.
Yeah, it does.
That leads us to our first question of the investigation. Where did the men acquire these weapons?
The gun was inside of Faraday's bag. It was a piece of evidence that was presented in the trial earlier today. It was used to kill the Cadopian embassy staff member. But I never heard anything about the knife. Mr. Tyrell was being held by the police. There's no way he could have brought it in. Which means it's possible that Faraday had the knife on him from the start as well.
Could it have been a piece of evidence that had yet to be presented? But then, why doesn't Detective Bad know about it? Wait! What if... It's possible that Mr. Faraday brought the knife in under the guise of prosecutorial evidence. He could have then brought it out and attacked Mr. Rell with it.
Huh. Maybe you've got a brain in there after all, kid.
Yeah. Is he going to treat me like a child forever?
It looks like Mr. Faraday attacked Mr. Rell first, who then counterattacked. That's the only logical conclusion you can draw from a scene like this.
Not yet. I feel that it's much too early to be drawing conclusions already. I must first find conclusive evidence so as to ensure the honor of the von Karma name. First things first, better check in on the bodies. It looks like Mr. Faraday fell on top of Mr. Rell. At first glance, it seems like they must have killed each other. However...
Using smart people common sense, the only logical conclusion is... Aha!
What was that outburst for?
Sorry about that. My detective's instincts just hit me real hard. It was Mr. Rell that fell first. See?
You don't need a detective's instinct for that. It's common sense. But I suppose we won't know much more than that until after I examine the bodies. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Huh, I like the sound of that.
Looks like Mr. Faraday died while holding the gun in his right hand.
So he shot Mr. Rell and then fell on top of him while still gripping onto the gun?
I guess it does seem kind of strange, huh? I mean, why would Mr. Faraday know how to fire a gun?
It's not exactly rocket science. Even I know how to pull a trigger. Although I doubt I'll ever need to use one.
Believe me, I hope I never have to fire a gun either, pal. But it sure does look cool to hold a gun in your hands. Bang, 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 bang.
That the police's screening procedures need a thorough review. Anyway, I should jot down some notes about the handgun in Mr. Faraday's hand. Curiouser and curiouser.
Looks like Mr. Rell died with a knife in his hand.
There's some blood stuck on it.
Then he must have used it as a weapon. Yep, no doubt about it. I'm so smart.
Was Mr. Faraday carrying this on his personage? Did he bring this as a piece of evidence for the trial? Or did he bring it with a very different intention in mind? I should jot some notes down about it. Now, what is this over here? Huh. Why are there plastic bags scattered all around?
Those bags are for keeping evidence safe, pal.
I know that much, Detective.
You sure are good at this stuff, aren't you, pal?
Normally, I'd be happy when someone compliments me, but when it's this guy... Anyway, could these plastic bags be evidence of a fight between the two men? There's nothing unusual about this area. Mr. Faraday. How ironic it is for him to lose his life in a courthouse.
Yeah, why did it have to be like this? I don't know what to say. I can't believe this happened while I was on watch, pal.
Rather than beating yourself up, you should spend your time continuing the investigation. Didn't you become a detective in order to solve crimes?
Well, yeah.
Then get back to work. Find out the cause of his murder.
Right. I'm on it, pal.
Incompetence everywhere. First, he killed a Cadopian embassy staff member. Then he was murdered himself.
This guy wasn't exactly an angel, you know.
Oh? What makes you say that?
Well, he's been hauled into precinct several times for theft and assault, pal. So yeah, he's definitely the type to have committed a murder or two.
Well, he did admit to killing Mr. Dead Man.
Hey, good point, pal. I knew my detective's intuition was telling me something.
Detective's intuition?
Yup. You know about it? It's a special feeling that all detectives get when...
We don't have time for this conversation right now. Let's return to the investigation. What else can this crime scene tell me?
His hand is all black down there, see? I wonder what it could be.
If you look closely, This blotching pattern resembles an ink stain.
An ink stain?
Yes, I usually get ink on my own hand when I use my feather pen.
A feather pen? I've never seen one of those before. Sure you weren't just making it up, pal?
Mr. Rell's cause of death was from being shot, correct?
That's what we think. But it's hard to tell with him lying face down.
Death is bad enough, but it's truly lamentable that someone would try to hide the truth.
Are you sure they were trying to hide something?
I can't confirm Mr. Rell's cause of death with his body positioned like that. Detective Bad, I'd like to examine the bodies in further detail if possible.
Was ist das? You're not able to form a theory with them the way they are.
I believe an examination of the bodies is vital to finding the perfect evidence, don't you?
I suppose you do have a point. Well, hurry up and get on with it!
Labbie,
Yes, sir. We've taken enough photos of the scene, sir.
and there you have it.
Do you not approve?
Of course not.
What?
Investigation of a crime scene is the work of a detective, so don't touch a thing. Hey, big fella, turn over the bodies for me, will you?
Oh, okay. Please forgive me, Mr. Faraday, sir. Hope your spirit isn't offended by anything I do.
Gumshoe, do not get emotionally involved. Remember, you're a detective.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Oh, gee, Mr. Faraday, you could have lost a few pounds before you died.
I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. I really could get used to saying that. Shot in the chest.
It takes some guts to fire a gun in a courthouse. I mean, I've been a detective for a whole week, and I still haven't fired a single round yet.
There aren't any burn marks on his clothes. That must mean
Wait, burn marks? Who got burned?
a round grows very hot as it is discharged from a firearm. Therefore, burn marks are usually left when a shot is fired from point-blank range. Ergo, Mr. Rell must have been shot from at least a yard or two away.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. You sure do know a bunch of neat stuff for your age, pal.
Apparently, this detective has as much common knowledge as your everyday marsupial. It looks like Mr. Faraday was stabbed with this knife that Mr. Rell is holding.
Yeah, jeez.
What's wrong, Detective?
My stomach started to hurt just from thinking about being stabbed.
Just keep your mind on the case, all right?
My mind's on the case, and really far away from things that could stab me.
There's something in his breast pocket. It's a fountain pen.
Hey, fun fact. I always keep a pencil behind my ear. It's because Detective Bad is always telling me, you should always write your name on everything you own, because I always forget and stuff.
Yes. Somehow you do strike me as quite a forgetful individual. I can feel a great power welling up in my brain. Could this be common sense for smart people? I'll come up with a better name later. That splotch on Mr. Faraday's hand. I wonder if it might be the ink from his fountain pen.
Oh, let's ask the lab guy.
Detective Gumshoe! I confirm that the substance on Mr. Faraday's hand is the ink from his fountain pen.
Uh-huh, I see. Good work. You know, I've always wanted to say that, even if it was just one time in my life.
If Mr. Faraday wrote with his fountain pen in his left hand, I think it's fair to assume he was left-handed. It appears that Mr. Faraday's pen is very important to our case as well.
Okay, if you say so, pal. I just realized that guy on top looks a lot like me. He's like a version of me from New Jersey.
I'm not sure why it's important yet, but I aim to find out. First, he killed a Cadopian embassy staff member. Then he was murdered himself.
This guy wasn't exact. Wait, didn't you just ask me this already?
Why do I feel like we've said all this before? Mr. Faraday is holding a gun in his right hand.
That's the one Mr. Rowe got blown away by, right?
Labbie, your answer?
Yes, sir. We found that the ballistic markings do match that gun.
Oh, right. Ballistic markings. They're,
Are the figurative fingerprints a gun leaves on a bullet when fired. Every gun leaves its own unique ballistic markings. Therefore, by looking at the markings on a bullet, you can tell which gun it came from.
Yeah, that's it. Of course. I already knew about that, pal.
Maybe you'd be better off going back to the academy.
Oh, no, come on, sir. Cut me some slack, will you?
So the bullet that was fired from this gun is what felled Mr. Rell. There's something definitely off about this. Detective Bad, do you have any thoughts on the case?
Faraday and Rell. Looks like they killed each other to me. Although, there are a few things that just don't seem right.
And what would they be?
Why don't you try thinking on your own first, before you bother me, boy?
What? Now I've been downgraded to just boy?
Holy crap!
What is it, Detective Gumshoe?
My TV at home is so tiny compared to this one, pal.
Then perhaps you should purchase a more normal-sized television like this one.
Ooh, let me see here. Wow, this thing is huge! Ah! And way too noisy!
You're the noisy one, Scruffy.
Don't touch it! You'll get your fingerprints all over it.
But I didn't touch it!
Preservation of the crime scene is the foundation of detective work!
The foundation, huh? Sounds like something the rookie here needs to shore up on. The window is open and... there's a fresh flowery scent in the air.
Ugh, the flowers in the garden down there are so gross and ghastly.
Do you think maybe you could try offering something useful for a change?
Well, at least there's no way someone escaped through this window, pal. They wouldn't wake up and smell the flowers after a fall from the 3rd floor.
Are you willfully ignoring the fact that there are also iron bars on the windows?
Yeah, I guess there's that too. Either way, no one could get through these windows, right?
They thought of everything when they were designing this courthouse. Very nice. There are some plastic bags stacked up on the table. There's a tea set too, but there doesn't seem to be any sign of a disturbance.
Yeah, the table's all neat and tidy. Maybe they were super quiet in their scuffle. After all, I didn't hear anything from outside the hallway, you know.
Maybe the plastic bags scattered on the floor are throwing us off. I think that might be just what I need to make my first major breakthrough in this case. It is rather strange comparing the neatness of this table versus the floor. Aha! There is a very tidy pile of plastic bags on the table. And yet, a portion of them wound up scattered on the floor as well. It's not likely that the ones on the floor were knocked over during a struggle. In which case, might there not be another explanation as to how they got there?
Another reason?
I believe it's possible that the blood on the outside of the bag is related somehow.
Oh, please, get that bull away from me, pal!
Detective Gumshoe, whose blood is on this bag?
Hold on. Let me ask the lab guy.
All right. Please hurry.
Oh, man! Wait till you get a load of this, pal! It's Mr. Faraday's! Oh, and the technician said they didn't find anything else on or in the bag either.
It would appear that this bag is a very important piece of evidence.
Okay, if you say so. I'll leave it in your hands, pal. Better with you than me. I'll just get nauseous.
There's something very important here that I'm completely missing. This decorative plant's foliage is quite nice. It's actually soothing to be around it. Perhaps I should purchase one for my room.
Ah, I see.
Did you figure something out?
This is a competition, Miles! And as such, I'd appreciate if you didn't talk to me!
As you wish. The TV has been left on.
Why are you looking at me like that? It wasn't me! I didn't touch anything!
Gumshoe, you do know what will happen if you touch something again, right?
I won't touch anything! I won't even go anywhere near the TV, sir. And you, get back to your investigation, alright?
I was planning to do so anyway.
There's some snuff in the bag, pal.
I suppose this was Mr. Faraday's bag. It's probably the trial evidence I was supposed to collect from him.
Wait, this is the evidence? Ah, jeez, I better not touch it. I'll leave prints on it.
Do you just not pay attention to anything you do? There are some plastic bags that we've already seen. There are some plastic bags that we've really already seen. I'm getting a little tired of these plastic bags. Why are these plastic bags scattered all around?
There's some stuff in the bag, pal.
I know that much, Detective. I believe we've already broached this topic. If I hear one more thing about these damn plastic bags, I'm going to lose my mind. It's just plastic bags this, plastic bags that. I'm going to go examine the dead bodies again. Wait a second. I think I know exactly what it is that's wrong over here.
There's a knife wound in his chest here, see?
I wonder if the wound matches the knife Mr. Rell is holding.
Labbie,
Yes, sir. Verifying now, sir.
make it quick.
From the look of things, one could deduce that the knife Mr. Rell is holding is what killed Mr. Faraday. Let us now try to understand how the two men died. First, Mr. Faraday took the gun and the knife out from today's trial evidence. Then he aimed the gun at Mr. Rell and fired. However, Mr. Rell managed to grab the knife and counter Mr. Faraday while being shot. Then the two men fell together where they stood. That is my theory, in any case.
Man, what a crazy way to go.
Still, something about that explanation just doesn't seem right. I believe I now have a firmer grasp on what happened here.
I guess there's not much left to investigate, huh? They really did kill each other.
No, we can't conclude that quite yet. There's still something I find very peculiar here. The theory that they simply killed one another is too simplistic in this case. In fact, there is actually a contradiction that shows there is another possibility.
No way, pal. Really?
I suppose I will just have to show you the contradiction in this crime scene. I won't rest until I've pointed out every contradiction. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? I'll say it is. Eureka! Now we come face to face with the contradiction I spoke of, and it is this! Mr. Faraday used his left hand to write with his fountain pen. Ergo, he is left-handed. And yet, the handgun is in his right hand! Don't you find it odd that the left-handed Mr. Faraday would hold the gun in his right hand? That, lady and gentlemen, is the great contradiction haunting this crime scene.
Hey, you're right, pal. That does seem kind of strange. But how could something like that happen?
The facts add up to one conclusion and one alone. Someone else put the gun in Mr. Faraday's hand after he died.
Someone else?
Plastic bags scattered on the floor and a gun in the wrong hand. I sense the presence of a shadowy figure behind this case. A person of vile intent who is serious about keeping the truth from us.
Here's the autopsy report.
It is probable that Mr. Rell survived for a short time after he was shot. However, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously from his stabbings. Interesting. It looks like we now know everything we need to know about this case.
Are you sure we know everything?
Of course! The incident began with Mr. Faraday attempting to get his revenge. The prosecutor went into a rage from being accused and tried to kill the defendant. But the defendant fought back and they ended up killing each other. It's all very clear and simple. There absolutely is no margin for doubt.
Do you really believe that to be the truth?
Are you saying that just because I figured out the truth before you, that you don't want to believe it's true? It's alright. If you would disagree with my arguments, then prove me wrong. Well, if there are any contradictions to be found, that is.
Don't worry, I will.
Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous while Mr. Rell survived for a short time. From this, it's obvious that Mr. Faraday died after he shot Mr. Rell. And Mr. Rell, while on the brink of death, stole Mr. Faraday's knife and stabbed him. Those are the facts of this case.
Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous, therefore he must have attacked first. Proving that logic to be false is probably the fastest way to show her that she's wrong. In that case, I should first look for any holes in her theory. Hold it! Mr. Faraday shot Mr. Rell before he died? Do you have any basis for that statement?
Your foolishness has no end, does it? Now, I hate to repeat myself, however, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously. That's all the basis I need.
Alright, so if Mr. Faraday died instantaneously, then he must have attacked Mr. Rell before being stabbed.
You're finally beginning to catch on, I see.
Well, that was no help at all. If I can't find a contradiction soon, I'll never hear the end of it at home. Hold it! So, you believe that the dying Mr. Rell stole the knife from Mr. Faraday?
Mr. Rell became desperate as he did not want to die. Human beings can do amazing things when they are put to the test. So, the two men struggled, and in the end, Mr. Rell was able to grab the knife and stab Mr. Faraday. The messy condition of the room is a testament of the struggle. Yeah, my logic is perfectly sound.
Can you really say that it's perfect?
What are you insinuating?
Nothing. However, I can't let what you said slide by without further inquiry. One must be clear and precise, so if you could append that statement to your testimony.
Fine.
I think I know where to fire my opening salvo directly into her perfect logic. There's something strange about her theory, but we don't have time to talk about that now. Let's see. I know exactly which statement holds the contradiction, but what evidence to use? Perhaps this piece? Might as well. This. No, this. Objection!
Wrong.
No, that wasn't it. Thank God I can reset, otherwise she'd give me hell over this. Maybe... Objection!
9.
No, that wasn't it either. I'm beginning to feel like there's some strange outside force forcing me to choose things that I don't want and keeping me from getting the correct evidence. That just sounds crazy. Hold it! About this statement.
Mr. Rel used all of his remaining strength to take the knife and defend himself. One can easily see that they had a violent struggle. Of course, it's nothing compared to what my riding crop can do.
How does one compare the damage her crop can do with the state of this room?
Furthermore, all the plastic bags on the floor in the room, they're scattered there due to the fight. Is there anything else that I can explain for you?
No, that will be fine. Now, how to best prove that there was no struggle. Let's see. Objection! No, wait. Haven't we already presented that before? I don't think that's going to help. Objection!
9.
I also don't think that just throwing evidence at her willy-nilly is going to help either. Objection!
You can do better than that.
Whoever you are out there controlling my every move, this is not the most helpful turn of events. Objection! Just stop and think clearly for a moment, please. Objection! If the two men were fighting, their struggle would have surely caused quite a bit of noise. However, Detective Gumshoe testified that he heard absolutely nothing.
You place too much faith in the detective's testimony, you know. But for the sake of argument, let's say there wasn't a fight. How then did Mr. Rel get his hands on the knife?
Mr. Faraday's bag was sitting right here in lobby number 2. It is not hard to imagine that perhaps Mr. Rel saw a chance and took it out at some point.
So, what you're saying is this. Mr. Rel took a chance when he saw the opportunity and took the knife from the bag. And then Mr. Faraday shot Mr. Rel after being stabbed?
Isn't there something strange in Franzisca's statement just now?
Objection! Objection! Hold it! Hold it! Eureka! Take that! Take that!
Let's go! Project